Welcome to our Posh podcast number 48.
Yay! We're almost to 50.
Almost to 50. And welcome my beautiful co-hosts, Marcella, my
Hello.
daughter, and Whitley,
Hi.
my son's girlfriend, and Chanel. And our special guest, Ashley Cook, is joining us.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are so
You
excited.
didn't know this was so much work.
I didn't. I have so much more respect for y'all now.
Well, you are a therapist in South Lake, Texas, correct? And you specialize in dual diagnosis patients. So
Yes.
we're going to learn more about you, your own story, and then about some case studies and what that is all about and what it means. And we're so grateful you're here because you're really our very first guest that we didn't know personally until today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
Where someone didn't know them. Like, we've had guests where, like, one person knew them, but this is the first time, like, someone
That
knew.
you reached
Oh,
out to
yeah.
us because you had
Yeah.
listened. And my favorite part of that story right to begin with is that when we spoke on the phone, you said that you had permission to tell me that you are Nicolette's therapist,
Yes.
which
And lifesaver.
lifesaver, which if you haven't listened, Nicolette's story, she told her story on episodes 12 and 13, and it's a gripping, unbelievable story. And when I heard it, when you told me that, I had tears running down my face. I'm like, you have saved her life. You really
I didn't
have.
save her, but
I think you did.
thank you.
I mean, it's unbelievable. So I want to hear all about that in a little bit. We usually on our Wednesday shows, we talk a little bit about what has gone on and what we did. And I know that I have like researched some podcast stuff, and some people are going, we don't want to hear like stupid stuff when people talk about what they do. But I feel like our listeners want to hear what we do.
Well, yeah, we don't really ramble. Like, if nothing happened in the week, we don't really. We're
Right.
just
Oh,
like, it's
like,
boring.
Yeah,
My
no.
weekend, whatever.
No,
Right.
I usually listen and y'all tell what
Yeah.
you did over the weekend. I think it's interesting.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, we're like we're going against everyone. Is still gonna tell what we did because we have some crazy stuff going on sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
And in particular, like this last week, we had our very first pop-up shop at the
Yes.
Statler Hotel, waterproof.
The first one.
First one, and it was really, really great, and everyone was happy with it. So we're gonna be there from now on this Sunday, and then every Saturday, Sunday until pool season is over.
Yeah, unless something random comes up. But
Right.
I think it was really fun, I feel like, but the hardest thing was like carrying.
Well,
this
because
stuff.
our pop-up shop is not just like a little thing. I mean,
No.
Tommy put it together, which is like a
Yeah. It's
traveling
like metal
store.
shelves with glass.
Two
glass
elevators.
shelves and
Wow.
Wooden. Oh, yeah.
it was a crazy setup and tear down because it's on the 19th floor of the Statler. So we have to go through like
like
the,
5 rolling.
yeah, but we have to go through all these elevators.
Oh, yeah.
we go
Oh,
from
wow.
one to
Yeah.
the next to the next, and then carrying everything up the stairs. It was
It's a
quite
lot.
interesting. It was
They're
a
like,
lot.
Okay, you're gonna go to the loading dock elevator, then you're gonna take a right to the service elevator, then you're gonna go the back way to the main lobby elevator, and then you're gonna move over. And we're like, okay, can you go with us? Because I'm already confused.
We already
Yeah.
forgot.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah, and then we assumed that we were going to have a storage there. So we were going to just leave at least the furniture part there. Well, that didn't work out so well right away because they have to get fire marshal approval and whatnot. So here we are
yeah.
again, lugging all the furniture back, loading it back up on the truck. It was crazy, but it
That's
was fun. Yeah. So we did that. And then myself, I'm going to just start because I was completely 1,000,000% consumed with the Thai soccer boy cave boys.
Oh,
in
yeah, the guy
Thailand.
stuck in the cave. Did you see that at all?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I was obsessed with the story. I
Yeah.
couldn't breathe. I mean, those boys are around my youngest daughter's age. And I kept thinking about, my gosh, what if she was stuck somewhere where he can't get her out? I mean,
Oh my gosh, you. No.
I
Yeah. Can you imagine how powerless you would feel? Like, oh my God.
unbelievable. And
I don't even know. I was in Florida judging nationals, And in the middle of judging, or like I was obsessed with it, which I don't ever have time doing anything judging. And I was like, I watched the special, anything I could, like to.
Yeah.
I could not sleep. Like when they started going, okay, we're going to rescue, we're going to go for it. And they were going to take them out. And they were talking, these boys couldn't swim. So they're going, we're going to make them scuba out. In this, like where the spaces were so tiny where the divers had to take off their scuba tanks and push the scuba tank.
Did you see videos of it?
Some. Yeah.
I mean, it was just crazy to me. And then I watched the whole entire process of what they did, and I found it so brilliant. I mean, how they came up with all of it. They had 2 divers. The kids were in the middle. And then when you saw it afterwards, they had them in these like stretchers that were bendable. So they would wrap them around them like a cocoon and carry them out. And they had also medicated them, which was so
Very
smart.
because I'm claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I would need to be highly medicated.
for sure.
Like,
Yeah.
not even coherent, actually.
And I think like when they did this, of course, it was always nighttime here because they were exactly 12 hours, the time difference. And I couldn't find anything on our American TV, and it was driving me crazy because I'm like, this story was so gripping all over the world, and everyone had 24-hour news coverage except USA because all we have on is politics. I was like so frustrated.
And it's trading season for basketball, so that's what really matters.
Yeah.
I just don't. Everything is politics on CNN and stuff now.
But it's
so annoying.
every news
It is
channel.
so
It doesn't matter
annoying.
where. It's
I don't
just
care.
So
I
annoying.
don't either.
Speaking of that, though, I just got the cutest Ivanka Trump dress
Oh, sorry.
for $16.
I love
was so
her
excited.
clothes.
I was like,
Yeah.
it was so pretty, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
That's cool. I
Side
can't
note.
wait to see that. But like we were also, I think what struck me the most, because I found a news reporter that has his own TV channel on Twitter and YouTube. And so I followed his live coverage. And I think what touched me the most, and we talked about it a lot between us, is that the whole world kind of came together and was praying for these 12 boys and their coach. And it didn't matter race, religion, politics, nothing mattered. It was literally everyone pulling for this. And that they actually pulled it off is unbelievable. They themselves said they can't believe that they did.
Yeah.
I
They
was
all
never
lived.
worried.
That they all
I know,
lived.
that's incredible.
And then we watched the special, and they said that right after the last boy was out, the pumps failed, and the cave completely started flooding.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And that there was still 4 Thai Navy SEALs, 4 Thai SEALs, and the physician, and they had to swim out. Like, of course they're trained, but still, they said if this had happened anytime otherwise, that would have been a totally different outcome. So
I
didn't know
said
that.
that there's something to be said, and I feel like it's something to learn from their faith and their like how they pray, and that the parents, like the whole, like all of Thailand looked like they came together to like pray.
well, and the coach used to be a monk, so he taught the boys to
How to
meditate.
meditate.
And they said that helped them survive too, because meditation helped with the oxygen.
Well, it
levels.
helped them not panic. So, which I'm trying to learn how to meditate. I
We
can't
need
do
to.
it. I can do 2 minutes, but even in the 2 minutes, my mind starts like wandering.
even,
But do you
Oh, it's hard.
do you do that for? Because
I don't, because I can't do it myself.
Okay.
Spider, do you meditate?
No. Says no.
But I encourage people who can, if it
Yeah.
works for them, by
It's
all means. But
unbelievable. I want
Yeah.
to learn it so bad.
It's hard.
Have
Yeah.
you seen Eat, Pray, Love, where she tries
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's like, I was like, the clock ticking. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's me. I can't.
They
I hear
say
everything and
They say that your brain can also be retrained. So
it's true.
you're not allowed to say like it's like going to the gym. You're supposed to practice and you're supposed to train like your mind. So you and everybody else is like, no, I can't. You're
No, I
actually
want to
wrong.
no,
Why?
I could do it. I just, I know
They
how
say.
it would be, but I could
Difficult.
do it. But I'm like, I know what would happen, but I
Yeah.
don't care.
I want to try. Like, after what I saw, this was really inspiring to me.
Well, they have apps on your phone. So I have the insight timer, and what else do I have?
But the number one, which one was that?
There's the calm.
that one, but then there's one other one.
I have
The-
all three.
Oh.
I do.
She
I just
has
have-
all three and can do 2 minutes. Good job.
Well, I haven't. It's not like I don't use it that often. It's like insight something. I'll find it and then I'll tell you later.
Okay.
It's somewhere in here. All my apps.
Well, anyways, so that whole story really, I found it so amazing. And now they're saying actually they need to be careful with the media, to leave the boys alone to heal, because
Right.
they're going to
Oh,
have some
yeah.
post-traumatic stress. And
Right.
the more attention they're getting right after, they're going to have a harder time.
They
Mhm.
actually, I don't know. Me and my roommate in Florida, which
Uh-huh.
by the way, I found it. It's Insight Timer, Headspace, and Calm. Those three,
Headspace.
if you are looking to learn how to meditate, are the best ones. I learned from Dr. Christensen and Dr. the chiropractor that you sent
Oh,
me to the
Dr.
news.
Lee.
Yeah. But we said that on the news, you have these like therapists and stuff coming out and saying like, oh my gosh, these boys, like negative stuff. But I thought it was pretty amazing that they're like flashing like signs and they're
Victory.
smiling
Yeah.
and they're like, I want fried rice. Like they're really hungry. And I think that they might actually be more positive. They look
Yeah.
so happy.
They
Like,
do.
and the meditation and their culture is a little bit different than like they might not have as
Mhm.
much as you think.
Well, they also, I think the parents said their culture, they have to give back. So they're going to send them to the monastery for like
Mhm.
4 weeks. And that's like their way of thanking everyone and being
Wow.
grateful. And
I probably
all that.
need to be sent there. Learn how to relax.
Okay, Masa, we'll buy you a ticket to Thailand.
I heard Thailand's one of the most beautiful,
Beautiful.
countries.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
said
that too,
it's
actually.
amazing.
Yeah.
My
It's
cousin
gorgeous.
went there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They said it was awesome. And then I saw on that special a lot of Americans have moved there, and they said it's
Beautiful.
beautiful, peaceful.
The first time I ever heard about it, and when that tsunami hit, which was years and
Mhm.
years ago, which was terrible. But they had, there was so many people on vacation there because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go.
My brother's roommate at Disney is from Thailand.
Are you serious?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would be fine. I like their food. I like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So let's move on. Whitley, it's your mom's birthday today.
Yes,
Let's tell
happy
everyone
birthday.
happy birthday to
Yay.
Whitley's
Yeah.
mom. And you just drove back from Rockport again.
Yeah.
That's a drive. She came in at 3 a.m.
Yeah. I'm so tired. So excuse my dullness.
I drank too much coffee, I think, or my coffee was too strong this morning. I feel like shaky. And I'm about to start my period, so I feel like, ugh.
I know. I hate that.
I hate it. I like
Isn't that the
Monday.
worst?
I don't know when it's starting. Sorry, TMI, but it's true. Like I just feel like
Yeah.
weird. It's probably the coffee.
Hopefully. Well, let's get to our special guest. Ashley,
Yay.
welcome. And we wanted to know a little bit about your personal story, because I know you have your own personal story of
Mhm.
love, trauma, and addiction that got you into the field that you are in
Yes.
today. Is that
Mhm.
what made you get into it? Would you mind telling us a little bit about your life, your story, and what happened?
Sure. Where would you like me to start?
Just start wherever you like. Start it.
Okay.
Like, where were you born? Did you grow up? Like your family?
Okay.
What happened?
So I was born in Garland, actually.
Garland,
And
Texas.
Yes, Garland, Texas, and lived there until about I think it was second or third grade, and then my family all decided to move out to East Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of a big jump. So yeah, I was used to like wearing all like the frilly dresses, and I was super girly, and then I move out to this small town.
What's
And I
the town
walk
called?
in Athens.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that's where I
Do
grew
you know where
up, like high
Frost
school and
is?
stuff. Frost?
Frost. Then East
No.
Texas. Okay. I have like people I know there.
don't.
I was just wondering.
Oh, yeah, no. Anyway, so then when I moved out to Athens and I walk in the first day of school and everybody looks at me because I'm all dressed up as per usual. And they're all like in big t-shirts, like jean
Country.
shorts,
Oh my
very
gosh.
country, like, and they looked at me and just Like, what are you?
Yeah. We don't dress
wow.
like that either.
Yeah.
We would not do well in East Texas.
No.
No.
So my nickname actually when I first moved there was Freak.
What?
That's mean.
It was really mean. So I was bullied really bad when
What?
Yeah, very
Gosh.
badly.
That's sad.
I know. So that
The
yeah.
same age. It's like, it almost sounds like the same age when this bullying stuff happens. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like
It
with
was
Nicolette
fifth
too.
grade.
Like-
Mhm. Yeah. So a funny thing about Nicolette, and I keep telling her this all the time, I see so much of myself in her,
And that's
I
what
think
she said
that's-
about you.
Makes sense.
Not,
Yeah.
not just on the show, but in private and
Mhm.
personally. She said when she found you, that was
Yeah, it
it
was-
for her.
It's really kind of weird because I see so much of myself in her, and she's going through some of this exact same things I went through, and sometimes I'm looking at her like, please learn this now.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
get this now.
Mhm.
Don't be my age, having
Right.
to deal with this. So I think that's probably why she and I connect so well.
Right.
Is because of that.
Aw.
But yeah, so bullying started in 5th grade.
Did you go home and like cry and tell your mom you want to
Yeah,
move
I
back to
did.
Garland?
I did. I told her, and my teacher made fun of me too. Like that
What?
was the
What?
really crappy thing. I had
Oh
the
my
worst
God.
teacher in 5th grade.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Like made fun of you how you dressed and how you
Yeah, and I was kind of like, the cutesy, like outgoing, like had a lot of energy all the time, but I was also like pretty smart. And so I remember I had actually written this whole thing and submitted it to the newspaper. It was some writing assignment, I can't remember, and I had gotten all these accolades about it, and like they printed it and they made a huge deal, and my teacher like came up to me and she was like, I don't know how you got put in the paper.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like so awful. Like, it was, yeah. And
That's
so I
mean.
would tell my mom, but
That's
my
because
mom.
you're so cute.
I know.
People don't like it when you are
I
like
know.
happy.
No.
It bothers them.
Yeah, well, I wasn't super
disturbing.
cute then, to be fair. But yeah, so my mom, like, I would go home and tell her about it and stuff, and she obviously would get pissed, but she thought if she went up there and tried to do something, it would just make it worse.
Yeah.
Because the politics and how things work in a small town are just,
Right.
Ugh.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty bad.
I would hate that.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Actually, interestingly enough, so I became head cheerleader later on, and I was doing a pep rally at the intermediate school, and that teacher was there, and I just glared at her like, "Look, bitch!"
Yeah,
right.
Was she still like looking at you? Like she remember?
Yeah, she it was kind of like a look like, really?
Yeah.
Like she became.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
That's so-
mean.
How is
Yeah.
an adult like mad at like jealous or like weird with a 5th grader? That is
Oh.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
some-
it
some
starts
of
that
these-
young. Like really.
That's so weird.
And it never changes.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened. But then after that, I started to fit in. I stopped wearing all the cutesy stuff and kind of tried to shift into this, okay, I can be country too.
Mm-hmm.
Made some friends, and then, really high school and everything went pretty well up until I met my first love. We started dating, I think it was summer after freshman year of high school. And then we dated 4 or 5 years.
That's a
Oh,
long
wow.
time.
That was a
Oh,
really long
yeah.
time for high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone.
And
Right.
so he was adorable. I'm actually still friends with him now, but I guess it was junior and then into senior year, he became addicted to opiates. So painkillers.
In high school.
Yes.
Was it like friends that gave it to him or?
How did
Yeah,
that start?
I think it started with because all my friends and stuff would smoke pot and whatever, and we'd go back roading.
That's fun though.
Yeah.
I used to do like mudding.
It was fun,
and stuff.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it started out with pot and whatever. That wasn't that big of a deal. But then it escalated to all my friends started experimenting and stuff like that. I didn't. I experimented with pot, but I didn't go beyond that. I was very perfectionistic. I was very dedicated to school. I wanted to make all A's. I was like, yeah,
Not interested.
No, I mean, I drank and smoked pot a couple of times, but other than that, I really didn't do anything.
Right.
But so my boyfriend, he had really low self-esteem, now looking back. And, I'd constantly try to be there for him. But his best friend, which was also a good friend of mine, actually got diagnosed with cancer our senior year. Yeah, so senior year of high school. He was actually the most popular guy in our class.
Yikes.
Yeah. And he they were playing football, and he felt like something on his side one day, like that didn't feel right. And he went to the doctor, and he had lymphoma. Like, what the?
Wow.
Like, yeah. So
did he
really
live?
Crazy. No, he died.
Oh my
He
goodness.
actually ended up dying. I was a freshman at UT, so probably I would say maybe a year and a half, 2 years after he was diagnosed.
Wow.
Wow.
That's so sad.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was actually my boyfriend's best friend. Like, they grew up together. They were two peas in a pod. Like, and so when he got diagnosed, my boyfriend went downhill. That's when he really started picking up using, and I was so naive. Like, I didn't understand it at the time. He would come over and would be high and acting weird and like rubbing his nose and itching all the time, and I was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where is he getting it from? Friends or parents? Like in his pants,
So
the medicine cabinet or something?
So actually, one time I was in my room. I was doing crunches on the floor, and I look over, and I can see 2 pill bottles under my dresser. I'm like, what the hell? So I like pull them out, and they're my stepdad's. Like, he had a prescription for pain pills, and they're all gone. Like, they're all gone. And so
the empty bottles were under there.
yeah. And so I was like, what the? And
So
I
your
asked-
boyfriend took them from your.
Yeah, he was stolen from my
Oh
parents.
my God.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what did you say?
Well, at first I was like, still naive, didn't understand. And then like I was asking some of my other friends, and they were like, yeah, like he's using painkillers. Like, he took those.
So did he act? I mean, besides being itchy and rubbing his nose, did he act weird to you? Was he the same loving boyfriend? Were there changes?
No, there was changes, but I attributed it to, his
Friends.
best friend's dying, and he's
Mhm.
depressed. And I mean, I knew he was probably experimenting, but I didn't realize the extent of it. I didn't
Mhm.
understand at that time what addiction was. So, I confronted him. He admitted to stealing the pills. He came over. He apologized to my family. I mean, he was super close with my family too. Like, they loved him like a son, and and so then we kind of moved on from that, and he continued to use, but I didn't really, I didn't know what the extent of it was. And then when we went off to college freshman year, I went to UT, and he actually ended up going to Texas State,
Okay.
Southwestern, San Marcos. And I remember, we were still dating at the time. We were getting more distant because I was, really motivated in school and didn't have a lot of time. But I got a call one night, and it was a guy saying, hey, it was probably 2 a.m. Hey, I found this phone, and you're in the phone as my love. So I'm guessing that, you care about this person, but he's being hauled off to jail right now. So you may want to come
Oh my gosh.
get him. And so I'm like, well, shit. So I had my best girlfriend was at Texas State too. And so I called her, and I'm like, hey, can I come stay with you tonight so I can bail him out in the morning? She's like, yeah. So I drive down. She and I go to pick him up out of jail the next morning, and he comes walking out with another girl.
What?
Stop it.
I swear.
Wait,
And-
so the girl bailed him out?
No, actually, they were arrested together.
Oh my gosh.
So he was cheating? Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, and
What
now,
did you do in that moment? Like, what's happened?
I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Like,
she walks
officer,
out
take
with
them
this-
back.
Yeah, right. And I think I was just in shock. Like, is this really happening?
What did he say? What the girl
Yeah.
say?
They were just weird. Like, oh, hey, like she like met me and was like, yeah,
the
yeah.
heck?
It was super weird. It was super weird. Yeah.
That's very weird.
So
Did he,
what
like,
did
hug
they
you?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm so
Well,
confused.
yeah, he just acted like, oh, here's my friend. And he's like, introduces her to me and tries to like, play it off. And obviously I'm like, yeah, right.
What did they get arrested for?
They were both out front at a party. He was passed out on the lawn because he had been drinking and taking pills and who knows what else. So,
Wow.
yeah. So a couple days goes by, and I'm like thinking about it more. And, at that point I'm like, you know what? He needs help. Like something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the person that I grew up with.
Right.
So I called his parents and I said, look, y'all need to come get him. Something's wrong. And they did. They came and got him and he went to rehab.
Oh, good.
yeah.
Good for them.
Yep. And I broke up with him. I was done.
Well, yeah. Good for you.
What?
Yeah.
What were you studying? Were you always wanting to do this? I know.
No, actually I started out as pre-med.
Okay.
So at that point I was
Wow.
still pre-med.
Okay.
Yeah. It was probably, it was my first semester at UT. I took a class called Family Relationships and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I changed my major. Yeah, the second semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
what you're doing now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Nice.
there it's called Human Development and Family Sciences.
Okay.
So psychology.
So was this a big part in what you changed? Like what made you change it?
Yeah,
Or-
I think looking back in hindsight,
Yeah.
yes. And then also, 2 years later, I find out that my stepdad, who was in recovery, relapsed on meth.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So,
Dang.
Whoa.
yeah.
How long was he? Like, how old were you when he became your stepdad?
2.
Oh, so he was like
3 technically, but we met when I was 2. So he was dad.
that.
to
That
me.
was
Yeah.
like your dad.
Mm-hmm. He's still, he's my dad.
And was he clean then, or like when?
Yeah,
he became,
like I didn't even know my mom didn't share that with us. So he was clean
The whole
up until this
Wow.
point. Yeah, he had
What?
been clean before he'd even met my mom. He had started his own business, and his cousin was working for him. And on his birthday, apparently his cousin decided it would be a good idea to bring him some meth for his birthday.
What?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
It's really fucked up.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
But in East Texas,
that's
it's
kind of the thing.
very like heroin
Mhm.
and meth are super
Oh wow.
big.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
didn't you? Your story when you were in Corsicana, so that's
Yeah.
that's
it's
30
horrible.
minutes.
Yeah.
From
Right.
Athens.
Yeah.
Yep.
With the first
Yep.
bad one. Yeah. You want to
Wow.
go back and listen to
I know when I
14,
listened to
15.
your story, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Corsicana.
Mhm.
That's like the worst place in the world.
Yeah, and they all live in those like they're not trailers, but
Mhm.
they're like the trailer homes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the country. And I just think that I'm not trying to be rude, but they have nothing to do. So there's like they're bored. So there's lots and
Mhm.
lots and lots of drugs, like in the
Mm-hmm.
small
Wow.
country.
So I have another question for you. So you broke up with your boyfriend
Mhm.
then. Was it any, obviously he was using and all that and you were a distant relationship, but was there any trauma ever with him at all, or no? It was,
No, I
mean-
think no, not so. I mean, he was never abusive towards me. He was
Okay.
actually pretty good to me, other than cheating. Um,
which is
actually,
terrible.
and then I found out like later when of course everybody wants to come out and tell you all this stuff after you break up.
Yeah.
He actually, like our senior year, it was prom senior year. Again, I was kind of a good girl at that point, so I like went to bed early, and he ended up like hooking up with another girl that night, like the night of prom.
But you
and I had
never
no idea.
knew.
I had no
Oh my
idea.
gosh.
Oh, that's
I had
awful.
no idea. And it was kind of one of those things where everybody knew but me.
Ugh, that's the
the
worst.
worst.
Yeah.
Been there too.
So yeah, he was, lost my virginity to him, my first love. Like he was, very, I think being betrayed like that by someone who I really, really loved, I think that was
That's
traumatic.
traumatic, right?
Mhm.
But no, he was never
He wasn't abusive or
Mm-mm.
anything.
No.
So then you break up with him and you stayed broken up. Like you never did the back and forth. Like you,
Yeah, no,
Broke up
we
and
didn't
you were done.
We never got back together after that. Now, there were times where he would reach out or I would reach out, being single or whatever, but no, it never became a thing again. Mm-mm.
so then now you're in college and now you're a stepdad. relapses.
Yeah,
So,
so that
go
was-
from there.
Oh God. Yeah. So again, I didn't really, I had come home, interestingly enough, I come home to visit my family to introduce them to my boyfriend.
New boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had met this, he actually ended up being my first husband. So I bring him home to meet the family, and I can tell something is up with my stepdad, but again, I'm still naive at this point. Don't really understand why he's acting weird. He's like up all night, and he's in the bathroom for like several hours in the bath. Yeah, it's just weird behavior. And so like the next day, I'm asking my mom, I'm like, why is he like in the bathroom for several hours?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like, she's like real
Defensive,
weird. Yeah,
kinda?
like kind of not wanting to answer. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, we end up leaving, and my boyfriend ends up telling me, I think this is how I figured it out. My boyfriend ends up telling me, he's like, hey, I didn't really want to be the one to tell you this, but your stepdad asked me to take a drug test for him while we were.
Oh my God.
I was like, what do you
first
mean?
meeting?
That's
Yes.
like so terrible.
So humiliating.
Oh yeah.
So humiliating. And I was like, but what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You had to be so
Yeah.
confused.
I
My
was
God.
very confused.
Yeah.
I was like, why would he do that? And my boyfriend at the time was like, well, he offered me some weed on Friday night, so maybe he's just been smoking weed. And he goes, but your mom is the one drug testing him, so you need to ask her.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. So I go ask my mom. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So she tells me everything. She's like, basically, he's, he relapsed on meth. I'm like, he relapsed on meth?
Yeah.
Like he
No
had a
idea.
problem with
Yeah.
meth at some point? She's like, yeah, a long, long time ago he did. And he
Wow.
did well for all those years, but he relapsed, and he's trying to get clean on his own. And I'm like, okay, you think he can get clean on his own? And she was like, well, that's why I'm drug testing him, blah, blah, blah. She's like, but I'm pretty sure he's using again, and I don't know what to do. And so I'm pissed at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck this guy. Like,
Right.
I get away. And I had a younger brother too, who's 10 years younger than
Oh
me.
wow.
And that's
So-
his dad. I'm
It's his,
assuming-
yes,
yeah.
that's his, real dad. And I'm like pissed because I'm like, you betrayed my mom. You're doing this with my brother at home. I'm not home to
Right.
be able to,
Protect.
be the protector. F you, get out of our lives.
Mhm.
And then, my mom was like, look, I'm not going to leave him. Like, I'm going to support him. And at that time, again, not understanding addiction, I was like, what the fuck is wrong
Yeah,
with you?
right.
What
Yeah.
do you mean you're going to support him? Like,
Yeah.
what about my brother?
Right.
Yeah. So he ended up going to rehab at La Hacienda, and I continued being angry for a while. And then when he got out, our relationship was a little rocky for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But over time, especially now that I understand addiction, we've gained our relationship back, and we're actually very, very close now.
Really?
And
Yeah.
he's clean.
He is clean.
After the first time in rehab?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's pretty
Yes.
impressive.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, he really, dug into the program and got what he needed, and yeah, he's clean.
Wow, that's
Oh.
amazing. Great
Thank
for your
God.
family too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, there are still times where he thinks that he can drink alcohol, and that doesn't go well.
No.
But other than that, no, he has not had any issues with meth or anything else since then.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
continue to your first husband. How was
Yeah.
that?
So, okay, we met at UT. I was in, again, human development, family sciences. Guys don't flock to that major. So, I ended up meeting him in class. He was really attractive guy. He was real quiet, kind of introverted, but I thought he was super hot. And yeah, so we were real like casual dating in the beginning. Like he was very non-committal, bad boy image whole
The best.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
My
totally
favorite.
fell for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
He was like the smart bad boy though, which
Right.
made it even
Worse.
more enticing, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, he actually was pretty much an asshole for a while, and then I don't know how, but we ended up actually getting into a really very committed relationship at some point. At some point he changed, and I don't know why exactly, but he became very committed to me, and we ended up going to grad school together actually.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Yeah, so senior year I decided, okay, I've got to keep going with this major, and I applied to marriage and family therapy programs, and he was in the same major, and he really didn't know what he wanted to do, but so he was like, well, I guess I'll go to grad school with you. And so we did. We went to Kansas State for 2.5 years for our master's.
And how is the relationship doing this time?
Good. I think it was okay. I didn't really, you're still growing up. You don't really
Mhm.
know yourself yet. I think what really attracted us too was that he came from a very similar background as me. So, his stepdad had used meth.
Oh,
He had a
What?
younger sister that was, 12 years younger than him.
wow.
Like,
Wow.
with just a lot of
Similarities.
similarities.
Yeah.
Mhm, that we could relate on. So then, we went to K-State and we got married while we were in grad school. And then, let's see, I got pregnant with our son 6 months into our marriage.
Okay.
So all is well up until this point.
Till you got pregnant.
Till I got pregnant.
Okay.
hmm When I got pregnant, and everything was fine probably through halfway through the pregnancy, but then I remember, I think I was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. I started hearing his phone go off in the middle of the night. Yeah. And, I'm like, who's texting you in the middle of the night? And he's like, oh, it's this coworker or some girl that he worked with. She goes out and she sometimes just texts me late at night and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's like not okay. Like,
At
does
all.
she know that you're married and I'm pregnant? And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, it's harmless, blah, blah, blah. Like totally like would blow it off. And I would get frustrated and he would be like, well, I can't control if she texts me. Like I didn't text her back. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still kind of weird, but whatever. So it like bothered me. And then one time his two best friends came up to visit us in Kansas. And this point I'm like 8 months pregnant, like really far along. And they end up going to a tailgate and without me, because I'm like, I'm not going to no tailgate.
Yeah.
I'm just staying
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And so they're at the tailgate and they come home later and she's blowing his phone up.
Oh my gosh.
And then they're like, hey, let's go out tonight with, I can't even remember her name now. And I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm like, you hung out with her at the tailgate today? Yeah. So he had like, him and his two best friends go hang out with this girl all day at the tailgate. And
I just read something the other day. I don't know what I was researching.
No.
And they said that the people that you worry about in your relationship and they tell you, oh, he is nothing to worry about, are usually exactly what you need to worry about
Yeah.
because they usually end up with them.
Yep.
It's very interesting.
yeah.
Did his two best friends like not say anything to you?
Oh
course
no,
not.
they're not. They're
Or were they
total
just
bro code.
Bro code. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just about to say
They're
the same
total
thing.
I
bro
don't
code.
know.
Bro
No.
code, like guy code.
Gino or something.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I found all that out, I was upset. But did he ever actually cheat with her? I don't know. It was inappropriate. At least.
Period,
I
yeah.
should, and it bothered me then. But I'm like, I'm pregnant. We're married.
You let it go.
I let it go. And then, so we ended up moving back to Texas after we graduated, and we both
So
started
after the
working.
tailgate, no more issues with her?
No, she was continuing to text him,
Oh.
but I just kind of ignored it. And then after our son was born, at that point, I think he stopped contact with her after our son was born.
Okay.
Because things were pretty good after our son was born.
How old is your son?
He is 8.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You look so young.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like,
Thank
no,
you.
married, the boy, little son.
Yeah. I thought you like just finished school.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
That's why I was like,
no,
you're
I've
so
been in the
young
field
to be
for
so
10,
successful.
8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. So your son is born.
Yeah, so he's born. We moved back to Texas. He gets a job at a place called Sundown Ranch, which is a chemical dependency program for adolescents in Canton, Texas. So
Oh, wow.
real close to Athens, like 30 minutes from Athens.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts working there. Long story short, I end up working there a year later. So he works there an entire full year without me. And then I start working there a year later, and I'm starting to become friends with the staff and stuff. And then all of a sudden these rumors start going around about how he's been having an affair with one of the other counselors there.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what? Like, how? Like, he comes home every night. How's that even possible?
Yeah.
So, and then so I kind of blow it off. I try to just
Did you
ignore
ever
it.
freak out? No.
Not at first. It wasn't until one day I saw the two. So they were on the same team. So it wasn't, they had to work together because they were on the same counseling team. And so that wasn't abnormal to me. And I really liked her. She was fantastic. So anyway, one day, I saw them walking together, and it wasn't her. It was his body language toward her that was like, okay, something's up.
Yeah. Like
So-
he likes her.
Right. So I start asking around, and there was this guy there who I was like a really good friend to me. He was kind of a mentor. He actually trained me when I was there. And I was like, and he was friends with my husband. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, look, I don't want to talk about it. And so immediately I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
So something
my
is
gosh.
going on. And at this point, I'm like, I have been so naive my whole life. Why am I continuing to be naive? So I confront him. You know, he lies. And I believe him for a while. Then, I continued to kind of just have that gut feeling.
Yeah.
So one day I went through his phone, and I could see, I didn't go through all of it, but I saw a couple that were just real flirty from his end, not from her, but from his. And then so finally one day I just got the guts, and I went up to her and I said, hey, we need to talk. And she was like, okay. She's like deer in headlights, like, oh shit. And then so I asked her, I said, what's going on? And she told me everything. She didn't do anything. He was pursuing her, hitting on her that whole time, to the point where he even stole her phone out of her desk one day to delete the text between the two of them so that she would never have proof to tell me.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So did you?
So it wasn't an affair. It was just him really wanting.
Like an
Yeah,
attempt
he
at one.
wanted the affair. He would ask her to send pictures and stuff, and she would refuse. And, she, at that time, she's young too. I mean, we're all young at this. We're like 23, 24. And so she didn't know what to do. She was like, this married man is hitting on me.
We have to work together.
Yeah.
We're working together. Now his wife works here. Like, what the hell? So, yeah, so she just didn't really know what to do. And then until I confronted her. And then, of course, she was like, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Yeah, he has been pursuing me. And
Wow.
yeah, so at that point, I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I left him. And
So were there
we got
ever
divorced.
fights, like big fights? Were you crying, screaming, anything?
Yeah, there was. Well, yeah, the first time I confronted him about it, I'm like, and here's the thing. I told him, I said, you need to tell me everything that's going on. And if you're not 100% honest with me right now, and I find out later there's more to the story, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him an opportunity to come clean, and he didn't. He lied. He was like, well, yeah, I've been flirty, but, that's the extent of it. That's all. And
So once you found out, you left and you guys got divorced?
Yep.
Wow. Good
Yep.
for you. I mean,
Yeah.
the first I mean, the signs were there, but then when you got confirmation, you left, which is good. Because a lot of people don't.
Right.
Even with that, like, since nothing really happened, like sexually or something like that.
But do you really believe that? I'm having a hard time.
That's it's one of those things where, well, no, I don't believe anything happened. And the reason why is because she and I became very close after that. She's actually my business partner now.
Are you serious? Oh, wow. That's sad.
Yes. And my best friend.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We became very close after that. Do I think that something could have happened with him and someone else? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I get
it. Maybe that other girl back in Kansas.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure that he was inappropriate with other people
and someone random.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So weird.
Well, and they'll find, I learned through mine, like they'll find anywhere. Like the funniest is like, even if, because you said it earlier, like, well, he comes home at night and it's like, well, they'll find anywhere to do it. It doesn't have to
any
be
time in the day.
Anytime. It can be on their break at lunch in the car. Like they will figure out a way. If they want to cheat, they'll do it. And they're very like
so weird.
Sneaky.
I just watched The Other Woman last night when I was driving home.
I love
that's weird.
I haven't seen it.
You have to see it. It's so funny. Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie.
We watched it, right? At your
I think
house?
so. Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's really funny.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. So now but there was never like trauma or abuse either from that.
So with him, it was subtle. He's a narcissist through and through. He's a narcissist. So his was more about wanting me to look and be a certain way. Like I had to have my hair platinum blonde at all times. You know, he wanted that Barbie doll wife. He wanted the trophy wife. Absolutely. And he, wanted me to look a certain way, weigh a certain way.
Oh my gosh.
His mom is beautiful. She's, skinny, blonde, tan, all of that. So he wanted me to be that. So, and he was controlling in the sense of like, I want you to look this way. I want you to act this way. This is what, in order for us to have a good relationship. And, after our son was born, I had really bad anxiety. That's when I got diagnosed with anxiety, and I was seeing a therapist and started on medication, and my sex drive plummeted. I didn't have a sex drive. And he didn't do well with that. I mean, and to be fair to him, I mean, we'd probably go a month without having sex just because I was in a bad place. And I didn't know.
Is that the medication?
Yeah.
That does that? Okay.
And the medication and my PTSD from my childhood was resurfacing. So, and on that, it had finally come up. It took forever for it to actually come up, but my stepmom stabbed my dad in front of me when I was 8.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like
what?
To death?
No.
Just
thank God, no. But she stabbed him, I think, 3 or 4 times, once in the chest, once in the back, and once in the arm, in front of me and in front of my 2 younger siblings. And I had to call the police and all of that. And the police showed up and she threatened me. And so I ended up lying to the police. Yeah.
You're 8 years old?
Yes.
What happened? Wait, hold on. I'm like, you left that big chunk out like in your beginning story.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa. So what happened?
So my dad is a narcissist and he's a womanizer. And anyway, this was his second marriage. He had married this woman after 2 weeks of knowing her. She was actually my hairdresser. He would take he had me every other weekend. And so he would take me to get my hair done with this lady. And I really liked her at 8 years old.
Yeah.
You like everybody. And so I was like, oh, Daddy, you should ask her out on a date. And so he did. And then 2 weeks later, they were married.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Dang.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, they got married super quick. And then she got pregnant super quick. 2 times. She had a really bad postpartum depression. And she, lost her shit after the second one. And really, she was crazy.
Yeah.
She acted absolutely nuts. And was one morning. It was a Sunday morning. We were getting ready for church, and she was running late, and my dad could not freaking stand people running late. Like he would get so pissed. And so she was running late, and so he was yelling at her, and then so she just lost her shit and like lunged at him and started like scratching his face. He had pushed her off of him. She lands on me. She gets up, like goes and grabs the knife and just starts going to town.
Gosh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Do you still hear that noise? I think there's a noise when you stab people.
It's more like this image that I have. And then my brother and sister, they're young, like 2, 3.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and there's in the corner. They probably don't even remember this.
I was about to say.
But do you remember
crying
vividly? Like, can you see it perfectly?
Oh yeah.
So is
Like
there a lot of blood?
everything. Oh yeah, blood.
Blood's
He's covered in
everywhere.
blood.
So
He's
how
covered in
did
blood.
you
Are you screaming?
cover for her with
Yeah.
the cops? It's all.
So he tries to leave because I'm like, I just called the cops. So he's like, oh shit. So he tries to leave, and the cops catch him at the corner.
like he left without you?
Oh yeah.
Or
He left
my
me
gosh,
there.
with this
Fucking
crazy
asshole.
woman with a knife lady?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a
She could have
narcissist. Remember?
stabbed all the kids.
Yeah. He just left us, and so the cops find him at the intersection. He's trying to leave, and they make him come back, and they bring him in, and then they think that it's him that's doing something. I don't know what I said on the phone to the cops. I just probably said my parents are fighting. Please come.
Yeah.
So when they talked to me with her in the room, and she was
What a
staring at me
mistake.
like,
Ugh.
you
And
better
she
not
just
say a
stabbed-
word.
You just saw her like stab someone, so you're like scared.
Oh, I was scared to death.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like, I didn't see anything. I don't know why I called you guys. I lied. And so I got like scolded by the police. Like, you do not call 911 unless
But
there's
that's
Wait,
so
what
hard
if someone
bleeding.
is stabbed?
yeah.
He had like cleaned himself up, and he put 2 layers of shirts
Oh,
on.
he was hiding it too.
Yeah, he was hiding it too.
What
Oh,
on
because
earth?
he didn't want her to get in trouble.
Correct.
What?
And then so he took me home that day, and
So they
he
never
shamed
knew
me
that
the
he was
whole
stabbed.
way. No, they never knew. And he shamed me the whole way home. Like, how dare you call the cops? What if she would have gotten arrested in front of your brother and sister?
Good.
That would have been all your fault.
Well, I don't know.
Oh
She
my
just
gosh.
stabbed you in front of us.
Oh, he stayed with her. After
Still?
that.
Today?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Oh,
they-
no,
oh,
not
oh,
today.
oh,
They
oh,
finally got divorced,
Oh.
but he stayed with her after
Was
that.
she still
Every
like,
time I would have to
crazy?
go to the house, I was terrified.
Yeah.
she was crazy.
Did you tell your mom?
When
No.
did you tell your mom? Did you ever tell her?
She knows. I think I told her a couple of years ago. Yeah.
What'd she say?
Like,
Freaking out.
yeah, like why? Why
You
didn't
never
you ever?
told.
I thought I did. Like, when it was actually funny. We were like sitting and having coffee one morning. I'm like, Mom, why didn't you put me into therapy after all that happened? And she was like, Ashley, you didn't tell me. Like,
Oh my
you
gosh.
didn't tell me till way later. So I don't know when I ended up telling her.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you see with something like that, you see when, like, unfortunately, when children are like raped or molested and they're told to not tell,
Then they don't.
and then they don't tell. And,
Mhm.
like, I guess when you're so little, your brain is just,
Yeah.
that's just really crazy. And then later to have that stuff, like, resurface is really,
Yeah, and how it resurfaced was super weird.
how
Like,
did that
it-
happen?
I was in grad school, and they had encouraged us to do our own therapy so we would know what it would be like to be a client.
Hmm.
And so I went, and I was having anxiety anyway, and I didn't really know why, and I didn't really understand what anxiety was at that point. And so when I started seeing this therapist and he started asking me stuff about the past, immediately I started having flashbacks and nightmares. Like, my PTSD got triggered and
Oh my
resurfaced.
gosh.
Yeah.
See, but that's what we talk about sometimes. That's why Marcella is like, she doesn't want therapy or anything for all the trauma she has been
Mhm.
through, because she doesn't want to deal with it. Like, she doesn't want it all comes back.
Well,
It's
I don't.
scary.
It's scary. I had tried, and I've told people about it before, and it's with
Mhm.
Nicolette's other therapist, and she's wonderful. But I tried eye movement therapy.
EMDR, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hate it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I left actually worse, and I was like, I can't go back ever.
Mhm.
Like, it was almost, and I
Did
don't.
they not prepare you? Oh God. Oh yeah, you have to. I'm an EMDR therapist too, so
Okay.
no, you have to be you have to be prepared.
Yeah,
for that.
I was
Actually, Nicolette had a very similar experience with a previous
Yes, she did.
therapist,
I
and
remember.
she's doing. I got her to the point she's actually doing EMDR with me now, and
so
it's going well.
Maybe
Mhm.
I just did it. I had a bad
Wrong. You
experience
did. You had a
because
bad experience.
I felt worse. I was exhausted. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
there is something like not okay. Like I did
Mhm.
not like that at all.
Mhm.
But then I don't know if I'm supposed to because of trauma, but you don't know. It's
Well,
weird.
it's definitely not going to be fun
Right.
going through that.
Right.
But you should have been more prepared
Right.
to not. So
Yeah.
that you weren't caught off guard like that, because that can be re-traumatizing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, I was like, no. I was like driving. I was like, never, 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 never.
Mhm.
So that, which is kind of good for people to know that if you are wanting to do that, because I was telling
or if someone suggested to you,
to make
Mhm.
sure you're with someone like you who really knows.
It took me seeing Nicolette for, I think, a solid year before she was willing to do it again,
Oh, wow.
to try it again.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But now she's doing it and is doing really well with it.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm like, I always look at you and go, oh my gosh, you said I know you were being humble and you going, no, it wasn't me, but it was you. I mean,
she really, she
Yeah.
said,
she said it changed her whole life. It changed everything for her. And I mean, the episodes of
Mhm.
relapse and whatnot, and her going through all the things she went through, and nothing was helping. And I mean, the last time, I mean,
yeah,
she,
I was very terrified that there was going to come a time where Desiree called where Nicolette
Yeah.
had died because
Right.
it was getting so out
Well,
of
she
control.
almost did.
Yeah. Several
I mean,
times.
Well, didn't she or the other guy? The guy did.
Well,
No,
she died. Yeah. She said, with all that stuff. But I mean, like, I thought that
Yeah.
the time was ticking when
It
I was like,
was.
it's just only a matter of time. This is going so bad. But then with you, that seemed to be like the
It was
key,
like-
which is
like a
super
safe
amazing.
haven.
Well, and research will even show it's not so much the type of therapy that you do, it's the connection you have with a therapist.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
will help you make the most progress, because if you feel like, okay, this person understands and is validating what I've gone through and I'm not
Yeah.
crazy,
Mm-hmm.
then that's really what can help. So
Cool.
I think that's, again, what helped us or helped her.
And I think, too, it's finding someone who actually seems to care and not like just
I was
another
gonna say that.
number or like just
Oh,
like
right. There's plenty of therapists out there that don't really give a shit. They just
Right.
want to, yeah.
they're like, oh, okay, well, it is 12:15. We are almost 1 minute over, so you can stop your sentence mid
Right.
Yeah.
You have to go. And I feel like that's super important when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
how
too.
often do you see her?
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Mm-hmm. Twice a week.
That's awesome.
So we do one talk therapy session and then one EMDR session a week, because she's always, you guys know her. She comes in and she's got a full hour of stuff she's got to get off her chest.
That's so good, though.
Great, though.
I also said, I mean, besides you, I think why I was always so hopeful that she would do well and that she would come out of all the stuff that she was doing and going through, is she's so honest.
Oh,
And I
very.
think that is one of the most important things. You
Oh, you
can't
have to be.
cannot have secrets, and you can't lie to yourself or to others about it, because with that you're always going to be caught in that trap
Oh,
of
for sure.
addiction. So that has always been, like, she would come way before it got that bad. She would be at our house sometimes and she would talk to me, and I knew just by her honesty I would always give her a big hug and go, you're going to be okay because you're so honest.
Oh, yeah.
But then things happen and she went to school again and then
Mhm.
started all over. But
So, well, really quick, 'cause just to go back, but when you did your own therapy and all that stuff came out, did you then get your own self through that?
No.
Okay. Like, how did that work exactly?
So I went to therapy for a while. It was actually before my first husband and I got married. And he even came into a session one time. And my therapist was trying to explain to him what was going on, because he was so used to me being one way. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. I was very anxious and didn't want to have sex and blah, blah, blah. And so the therapist was trying to explain to him, her PTSD is resurfaced, blah, blah, blah. And my first husband just started crying. He was like, because he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
He was like, so what do I do to help?
Yeah.
And so anyway, when we got married, I didn't go back to therapy because I thought, I'm happy, I'm married, I'm fine. I went to therapy for a year or whatever it was. I'm good. Well, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So it probably it wasn't until a year ago that I actually went and got real help.
Oh, really?
A year ago,
Like,
right
actually,
now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been in therapy. I love my therapist. Her name's Kate Goodell. She's amazing. Anyway, she has been seeing me for the last year, and this is the best best I've done in my life.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh.
Even
So
as a therapist,
Oh yeah.
you need it too.
Oh, for sure.
Wow. That's
Oh, for
so
sure.
interesting to me.
So are you, because you said first husband, is there a second husband?
There is a second husband.
Are you married now?
No,
Oh,
How was that one?
yeah.
not good.
Not good.
So fast forward a couple of years, 5 years. Yeah. I moved to McKinney. I get a new job at a different facility, and I have like a fresh new start. I'm out of East Texas again. I'm away from all the drama that happened there, and my son and I are like, okay, we're gonna have a fresh start. And things were going extremely well. I loved my job. Lived in McKinney. And then one day we were at the pool, and this little girl walks up to me. I'm just laying out, and Colt's swimming, and he's 4 at the time. And yeah, so this adorable little girl walks up to me, and she sits down. She's just talking to me, like adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally ask her, like, 'cause she's been sitting there with me for a while, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, hey, where's your mommy? And she's like, my mommy's in heaven.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, well, where's your dad? And she goes, oh, he's over there. And then like, so he eventually comes around, and he's like, you know, is this okay? Like, she's sitting and talking. I'm like, yeah, no, she's great.
Yeah.
That's fine. So he ends up sitting down and talking to me for a while, and it was like an instant connection. I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy is adorable, and he has this adorable little girl, and our kids are the same age because she was 4 too.
Oh,
Wow.
And yeah, so it was like this instant connection. But I was dating somebody else at the time, and so I kind of was like, you know, he asked me for my number, I gave it to him, but I was kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing will probably ever happen of it. Well, anyway, he ends up like texting me and stuff, and we text back and forth, you know, forever and ever and ever, and all this deep stuff, like really deep connection stuff. And he ends up telling me that his wife, or actually it wasn't ever his wife, but his fiance, was killed in a car accident, and that he was driving the car, and the daughter was in the back seat of the car, and she was, I think, like 8 months old at the time.
Wow.
She like has a little scar on her face because she almost lost her eye. And yeah, it was like this story, and I was just like heart-wrenching, like, oh my God. So anyway, he and I, the 4 of us, like, immediately just, I dumped the other guy. The 4 of us started hanging out all the time. 2 weeks in, he ends up moving in with his daughter. Like, it was like
Quick.
yes, very quick. I just was in love. I was like, this is I've met the one. We're gonna get married. Our souls are, you know, he's my soulmate, blah blah blah. Well, we end up getting married 2 months later.
Wow.
Yep.
So would
Yep.
you say that this guy, like, you're madly in love with more than all the other guys before?
For sure.
For sure. So
For
like,
sure.
Okay.
For sure. Just because I don't know, it was his story, it was the little girl,
All of it.
the connection. He was very charming, just like, you know, swept me off my feet. He hadn't been with another woman since his wife that I knew of. I mean, that's the story you told me anyway. And so yeah, I just was instantly in love, and we ended up, we got married 2 months later, bought a house like a couple of weeks after that.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is all like fast forward.
Yep.
Go ahead.
But then it turned south, obviously, as it usually does. And those types of relationships. And
How fast?
probably pretty quick. Probably right around when we got married. Yeah.
Like,
So
what happened?
so many stories. It started subtly at first, just like, for instance, our kids would be at daycare, and I'd go pick up the kids from daycare after school or after I got off work, and like he would be on the phone with me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna run in and go get the kids, and then he would be sitting across the street in a parking lot, or he would be calling up to the school, and I would hear the director saying, yeah, she just walked in to get the kid. Like,
What?
I don't know what happened. Something like got set off in him. He was in the Army, and so he had PTSD
One of his
from
own.
that as
Yeah.
well.
Is he like following you? Like
Yeah.
stalking?
No, I
Or
think
just
no, it was
distrusting.
trust. Like, he thought, I think somehow he got it in his head that maybe this is too good to be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that I wasn't what I thought, or what he thought, or that I was
Oh,
seeing other
wow.
men, or not being honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could he have been, and I mean, you'll know immediately my question, but could he have been so attached to his daughter because his wife passed away?
I'm sure.
So that he was like making sure that you're picking her up.
Oh,
or
no,
what-
no.
No,
It
was
wasn't
you.
about, it was about me.
Okay.
It was about
Okay.
me. Am I really where I said I am?
Okay.
So from there, he, he would show up to check on me. Like,
What would you say?
I'm like,
What are you doing?
why are you doing this? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
why don't you believe, like, you have no reason to not trust me. Yeah, like, oh God, the worst time. So I was at work. Me and two of my coworkers were going to go to lunch, and we're at lunch. I told him we were going to lunch, and I had turned my phone over, and it was still on silent, because as a therapist, it's on silent most of the time. And I flipped it over, and I had like 15 missed calls, and I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, so I call him back, and he's not answering. So I'm like freaking out. So he ends up answering, and he was like, I was just hit by a car. And I'm like, what? Like, you were hit by a car? He's like, yeah, like I was delivering something and was walking across the street, and I literally got hit by a car, like, as I was walking. And so I'm like freaking out. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, well, I'm leaving work now. He's like, no, I'm fine. Like, everything's good. I already went to the hospital. They checked me out real quick, and I'm good. I'm like, okay. So on down the line, I never get a bill from the hospital or anything.
Yeah.
He made it up. He made it up.
Why?
Oh my God.
Because
To
my attention
explain.
was not on him.
And to explain 15 missed phone calls.
That too. Because I was like, why would you call me 15 times? And the thing was, he assumed I was at lunch with
A guy.
another guy,
Wow.
I guess. Yeah.
So then what?
Just more and more stuff like that. Constantly, he would go through my phone. He would go through the phone records. He would go through all my emails. I had been on a dating site, like, at one point way before I had met him, and I think I got an email from, like, Match.com, like, hey,
Yeah.
join Match.com. He saw that and assumed
Oh my gosh.
that I was cheating, and yeah, so it just got worse and worse and worse, and he was very controlling. Probably he called the cops on me probably 2 or 3 times.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
Like, what were you doing?
So we would start fighting, right? Okay, so one time, so we had just moved into this house, and I was unpacking. He wasn't there, and it was above our fridge. I looked into the cabinet, and there's a gun in there, just a pistol. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I get it out, and it's not loaded, but then I see, like, right under it is, like, the bullets and stuff. And so I because of his other behaviors, it scared me. And so
Yeah.
I hid the gun. And I was like, first of all, I don't want the kids accidentally climbing up here and getting it. And second of all, like, why is he hiding a gun up there and not telling me? Like, what the hell? So I go and hide the gun, and a couple of weeks go by, and he's never asked me about it. We get into a huge argument, and all of a sudden he walks out of the room, like, searching and searching and searching. And I'm like, what the hell? And like, he comes back in, he's like, where's my fucking gun?
What the heck?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, well, I'm not.
I do too.
I'm like, well, I'm not going to give you your gun in the middle of an argument. And I was like, I hid it. And he's like, well, you need to give it to me. It's my grandfather's gun. And I was like, well,
why are you looking for it right now?
I'm not going to give it to you in the middle of an argument.
Oh
It's
my
just not
gosh.
happening. So he called the cops. The cops show up, and they're like, you know, he's like telling them, she has my gun. I don't know what she's going to do with it. Blah, blah, blah. Like, total lie, you know. And so I go talk to the cop, and I'm like, look, I hid the gun because, first of all, I'm uncomfortable with guns in the house because we have 2 small children. And second of all, I don't know what the hell he's going to do with it. Like, I'm not going to give it to him. And the cop was like, I even said, I said, you can take me to jail, but I'm not giving him the gun. And he was like, nope, it's community property. Y'all are married, so you can do whatever the hell you want with that gun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I kept it hidden. I didn't give it to him.
And he never found it.
Not until we moved out later, and I finally gave it back to him.
So what made your marriage end?
Just more and more of that. So the final straw was we would go through the whole, you know, honeymoon. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm acting that way. I have PTSD. He actually even started seeing a therapist for the PTSD because I knew that's what it was. I knew he was acting like this because he lost his fiance.
Yeah.
Mother of his child. He was in the infantry in the army. He was in Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, he had been on the front lines. Like, I knew that's what it was. And I kept trying to help, and I kept trying to, you know, encourage him to get help and get treatment. And veterans are very weird about that already. They don't really want to. And he's like, no, I can fix it on my own. Well, it continued to happen. So he finally goes to a therapist. Actually, a therapist that I had worked with. And so I was like, I thought she was good. So I encouraged him to go see her.
Yeah.
That was a disaster because she ended up like, so like she overly attached to him. Like, I remember going into one of their sessions and she was crying.
What?
Like, during their session. And I was like, well, this is not appropriate. Like, and so, so he immediately was like, I don't trust her, you know, like, what the hell? Why? Like, if she's going to cry in all my sessions, that's not going to help me feel at all. Yeah. And I remember she asked for me to come into a session one time because we were having problems. And I come in and I'm thinking I'm there to like be supportive of him. And she starts confronting me about, you know, you have all of these issues and you're extremely codependent and you need to go figure all this shit out because you're triggering him.
Damn.
It's your fault.
I said, well, that's probably true, and I will go get my own therapy, but like, if this is my fault?
Yeah. You're like, dang. Thanks.
Gosh. Has nothing to do that he was in a severe car accident, lost his fiance, was in war.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I start going to my own therapy. He ends up stopping. So I gradually am starting to get stronger and stronger. And he's not. And things are continuing to happen. We're fighting all the time. He's very insecure and thinking I'm doing something either with my ex-husband, Colt's dad. If I have to talk to him on the phone, he's like, why are you talking to Josh on the phone for 32 minutes? And I'm like, because we're talking about Colt. Well, why? You talk to him more than you talk to me. Why,
Oh my
what
God.
could you possibly have to talk to him
That just
about?
gets
Either
exhausting.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
so exhausting.
Exhausting.
And so, there was one day I remember I was in the fetal position in the closet and he's just screaming at me because that's what he would do. He would go into these rages whenever he would get triggered. And I just was like, this is my life. Like, how did I get here?
Right.
Why am I laying on the bottom of my closet floor being screamed at? Like, because he would get like right in my face.
Oh
He
my
would never
God.
actually like hit me or anything, but he would just, that intimidation, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so one day he was flipping out, and he took all of my clothes out of the closet and was throwing them out into the front yard. And my son was with his dad, thankfully. But his daughter was sitting there watching all of this. So she would always be privy to the fights, too. That sucked. She would always see it. And she was just looking at me, and she was like, why is he doing that? Why is he so mad? I don't understand. She's crying. And I was like, I'm done. I cannot continue to let this little girl who's already lost her mother see a woman be treated like this. I just can't.
It's just bad for her.
Yeah. So that's what finally got me to.
How long was the
We were married from June to March. So what is that?
Not
8
even
months?
a year.
Yeah.
That
All
was
of
quick.
that transpired in a very long time. And I'm leaving out a lot of details,
Right.
but that's kind of the gist of it. And yeah, so then we got divorced. I moved back on my own with Colt. And yeah, after getting out of that relationship, I was very depressed, was thinking about suicide. The only reason I didn't was because I had a kid, just because I believed that I was like, he was the love of my life. Like that was supposed to be it for me. Like this was supposed to be like, I've had all these shitty relationships and trauma and other crap. And like we were supposed to get each other. Like, and I really had a hard time letting that go, like that dream go. Yeah. So yeah, even after we got divorced, we would continue to talk and be back together for a while. I mean, we did the back and forth thing for all the way up until a year ago when I started going to therapy.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you single now?
No. I actually met someone, and he is a very, very nice guy.
Good for you. Congratulations.
How long ago?
We've been dating, 8 months.
And it's good.
9 months.
So far, so
9
good.
months. He's going to be upset that I don't remember.
And it's good.
Yes.
Good.
It's going very well.
Good.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, hopefully we will have you back one day and you have this dream that you thought wasn't going to be.
Oh, I know.
But with this one, because God always puts the right people in your life eventually. Sometimes you have to go through bad ones. Yeah.
And a lot of my therapy now is knowing how to have a healthy relationship, because I didn't know. I mean, all of my relationships were either me being the strong one, or, me trying to be the savior or fix someone or help someone, and I never was just able to be me.
Yeah.
And so now I'm learning about, okay, just you can be yourself, and you don't have to, there's no expectations about you fixing someone or any of that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to come back with you for our next hour and talk a little bit about you being a therapist and you helping people and going through some of the dual diagnosis, what people have to deal with. So give us your social media handles. So if people, so they can contact you.
What is my social media? I think it's Ashnacook, ASHNICOOK on Instagram.
On Instagram. And then give us your clinic's office where they can call you.
So our clinic is Compassionate Solutions. It's in South Lake, and the phone number is, what is our phone number? 817-798-1846. Let me make sure
that's good.
Yeah,
I can give my cell phone too. That's probably the best way. My cell's 903-363-6516.
Okay, contact Ashley if you need help. She's an amazing therapist, saving our Nicolette's life.
Yes.
So we're so partial to you. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about dual diagnosis.
Awesome.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.